world's gone to shit, but there's one thing I know. Oh, it's happened before, it'll happen again. Don't despair, don't give up. If you do, oh, they win. So we ride, keeping our heads down until we're on the other side. Oh, we ride, we ride this bullshit out. The game is rigged, the road is hard, but saddle up and play your cards and ride, keeping our heads down until we're on the other side. Oh, we ride, we ride this bullshit out. Everything's gone to hell, just can't trust anyone. All around us is nonsense. Get your boots, saddle up, take the reins, 'cause today we ride, keeping our heads down until we're on the other side. Oh, we ride, we ride this bullshit out. We ride it out. Ooh, ride. We'll always ride this bullshit out.
Hello and welcome. I'm Dr. Mary D'Angelo with my staff. We make up a women's group who intend to provide insight and education. We are beginning a journey together, exploring the mind of a narcissist in the realms of a public sphere. In this case, a fandom environment. You might ask why this is pertinent, and that's a great observation. I was contacted with several giant folders full of screenshots regarding some trolling behavior, and this will serve as a great example for us to analyze. Let's get into a bit about the basic structure of a narcissistic relationship in terms of social media fandom relationships. This is important because it seems these situations are extremely common, but aren't discussed nearly enough. We see a lot of discussions about these types of relationships in romantic or family-type situations, but rarely in online social-type situations. We are going to attempt to fill in this gap a little. Better get out some bingo cards and have them ready for the limited vocabulary of insults they use, their common tactics, common insults, and more. They'll become useful. Let's begin by giving some insight into fandom mentalities. This may not be accurate for all fandoms, but it's a growing issue in a lot of fandoms, a lot of social spheres, social media sites, and other places where a common interests are shared, often garnering a group of varying ages. Depending on the topic of interest, the focus may be more on a particular demographic, such as if something is aimed at a younger audience. There will be a larger amount of younger people in that particular fandom. There's nothing wrong with this, per se. In fact, it can be interesting for older people to bridge the age gap with younger people. With that being said, there are also a few major issues that can arise. One is ageism. This presents itself in a couple ways. The majority demographic in the fandom sometimes feels more appropriately entitled to enjoying the fandom. They may feel that those who are outliers, who are outside this fan mentality set demographic, don't belong, or worse. That leads to issue number 2. These fans may then try to drive older fans out of the fandom by trolling them instead of making them feel welcome. They may feel threatened by the age differences and lack the maturity to understand that age differences can be a good thing. They may learn from those older people. They have been conditioned by a couple generations to think that older people in a younger social sphere is a red flag for something more dangerous. While this is not necessarily a bad thing, it's a bit biased. Stranger danger has been a thing since the 1970s. Unfortunately, the focus was on avoiding adults only, and has helped to set the stage for some potentially damaging logical fallacies. Do adults abuse children, especially sexually? Yes. However, people are conditioned to think that other young people, especially other minors, are too innocent to harm each other in these ways. This is far from the truth. People of all ages, even in the same or a similar demographic, teens, 20s, 30s, etc., are just as capable of these things as are people who are far older. The idea that only older people harm younger folks is a dangerous, false stereotype. This will also give you some insight into what we will delve into. With that being said, narcissists constantly slip into fandoms largely undetected. They thrive too, especially when they use talent, like making video content, art, fan fiction, etc., to lead potential followers on a string. This is not to say that everyone who makes content is bad either. This is the core of the issue. Narcissists need an audience to thrive. They gain their power from and feed off their audience, their fan base. This is not to say that every person in fandom who gains a fan base is a narcissist or troll, but it's often a common denominator to look out for. They may even act like a parasite, using others who may know their victim and turn them into enablers, which then turns those people against the target. More on that in a bit. They look for fans who are gullible and impressionable. Does this sound familiar? Yes, cults and fanatical political party affiliations share these traits as well. This sharing of traits will be a continuing theme. In fact, the social structure is similar, and cult leaders are often narcissists. They use manipulation tactics to acquire that following. They possess a very specific charisma that lures people in by blind faith. They're able to essentially hypnotize followers using their tactics. Once this happens, they become one mental unit, all becoming mental and emotional extensions of the narcissist. They become zombies in an emotional regard. The main roles in a narcissistic relationship are the narcissist, their enablers, their target, their discards, and those who don't matter to them. They can sense who might put up a fight, someone with a strong will and personality traits opposite of them. This is the target. People who are easily led on become enablers. If the enablers don't keep up with validation, they're discarded. Those who don't seem to pose a threat may fear that they will be abused by the narcissist, sometimes leading them to become enablers for their own perceived safety. This is often unnecessary unless you become a target. The narcissist usually focuses on one at a time. If you are neutral, you usually remain so, unless you openly stand up for the target. Some of the most common general tactics are accomplishments and professional success, even if by cheating or using unethical means. Financial gain also by any means, even if by cheating or unethical. Status symbols, such as a big home, expensive car, showing off large amounts of food, or a seemingly exotic romantic partner, especially if they are not wealthy enough for other things. Acquaintances with celebrities, public figures, and other high-status people and institutions. Wearing designer labels and expensive accessories and jewelry. Winning even if it means they appear to be winning over their target victim rivals. Using alcohol, drugs, or other addiction, sex. Provoking arguments, emotional reactions, and chaos. Receiving awards, this can include being given coveted roles within the fandom, such as voiceover roles, moderator status, or anything else that gives them more power and allows them access to an even bigger narcissistic supply. They may also manipulate in order to gain these things. Attention in the news or social media. Being admired and loved by romantic partners. Having a mate that is desired by others, such as a trophy wife or influential or successful spouse. Expressions of gratitude, praise, etc. Narcissists are addicted to external validation, which is often called narcissistic supply. This makes them extremely dependent on others for their sense of self-worth. If they are not receiving praise or attention, their fragile ego can easily deflate, leading to emotional distress. They are like a drug addict or alcoholic who needs their fix. It's survival for them. They crave recognition and have an insatiable need to be admired. Psychoanalyst Heinz Kohut observed that his narcissistic clients suffered from profound alienation, emptiness, powerlessness, and lack of meaning. Beneath the surface, they lacked sufficient internal structures to maintain cohesiveness, stability, and a positive self-image to support a stable identity. If you're in a close relationship with a narcissist, they expect you to supply them. The term a narcissistic supply originates in the psychoanalytic theory that concerns the essential needs of babies and toddlers to maintain their mental and emotional equilibrium. Loss of necessary supplies in childhood can lead to depression and later attempts to get them through addiction and other means. Because they continue to seek that high, They will continue to find more people to enable them by giving them attention and gratification. There is never enough. Narcissist deficient self and inner resources make them dependent on other people to affirm their impaired self-esteem and fragile ego. They only validate themselves as reflected in the eyes of others. Despite their facade of confidence, boasting, and self-flattery, they crave attention, respect, and constant admiration, and actually fear that they're undesirable. They will flatter their followers initially to draw them in. They will make their followers feel wanted long enough to control them. Some followers may feel afraid to leave or speak out because they don't want the narcissist to abuse them. Other people are used as objects in order to provide their supply. Freud identified two main paths to fulfilling narcissistic supplies: aggression and ingratiation. Eventually, he called them sadistic and submissive. To be admired and to get their supply, narcissists employ various strategies, including impression management. They ingratiate themselves using their charm, emotional intelligence, bragging, seduction, and manipulation. Receiving attention and admiration boosts their weak self and lack of self-esteem. This allows them to interpret events in a way that confirms their own importance, rather than through objective reality. In fandom terms, the narcissist's followers become submissive. This is why they share the same ideas and spread them to others. Those who are aware that the narcissist is a problem may still be submissive to a degree by fearing to speak out against them. Why? Because they fear being targeted by the narcissist. The issue here is that they lack the knowledge to fight the narcissist with. Insight into the narcissist's behavior is the narcissist's Achilles heel. Knowledge is the best weapon. Trading insults eventually tires out the victim and their supporters, until the victim either gives up or their supporters all abandon them. The people who provide the narcissist with narcissistic supply are also known as flying monkeys, people recruited by a narcissist to participate in their abuse tactics. The term was originally coined from the henchmen of the Wicked Witch in The Wizard of Oz. These individuals, whether knowingly or unknowingly, help the narcissist's agenda by harassing and isolating their target. The narcissist manipulates and tries to control what their followers think in order to feel better about themselves, making narcissists dependent on recognition from others. Just like in a cult, followers wind up having roles. Some seek out things to use to harass naysayers with. Many become emotional fan bearers. Some will help by sharing links or media that the narcissist uses to control their opposition with. Narcissism is frequently linked to online trolling, especially antagonistic narcissism, which shares traits with trolling such as lying, manipulating, and provoking others for self-gratification or to belittle them. Narcissists high in antagonistic traits may troll to highlight their perceived superiority, exploit others, and provoke reactions. If you refuse to provide what they want and need, they resort to their secondary means: aggression with narcissistic abuse. They go on the offensive attack and belittle you. By discounting you in their eyes, their self-image is elevated. In relationships, they can become sadistic. As their abuse escalates, their partners and coworkers become passive and submissive to avoid coming under attack and to maintain the relationship. By assuming a submissive role, you establish an unhealthy dynamic in relationships with a narcissist. In terms of fandom's relationships, they will become sadist and get a high off of having their followers attack their detractors like guard dogs. Narcissists use a variety of techniques to make the target question their sanity by manipulating their perception of reality in order to maintain control. Change or distort facts to protect their inflated self-image, avoid accountability, and maintain control over others. This tactic, a form of manipulation called gaslighting, can make others question their own memory and sanity. Denial. The narcissist will flat out deny that an event or conversation ever happened, even if there is a clear memory of it. Example: You promised you would help me with that today. Narcissist: I never said that. You're imagining things. Withholding. They refuse to listen or pretend not to understand, effectively shutting down communication and making you feel unheard. Example: I don't want to talk about this again. Minimizing and trivializing. They dismiss or belittle feelings and concerns, framing them as an overreaction. Example: Wow, you are way too sensitive, or you're overreacting. Countering, they question memory of events, even when certain of what happened. Example: Your memory is always terrible. That's not how it happened. Blame shifting and scapegoating. They turn the focus away from their own behavior and blame you for the problems in the relationship. Example, you made me do this. Or if you hadn't done X, I wouldn't have done Y. Use of ad hominem attacks and logical fallacies. Logical fallacy is an error in reasoning or an invalid argument that often appears valid but contains flaws, making it unreliable or misleading. These errors in logic can be used to deceive, or they can occur unintentionally. Understanding logical fallacies is crucial for critical thinking, allowing you to evaluate arguments, avoid being misled, and construct stronger arguments yourself. Fallacies are broadly categorized as formal, errors in argument structure, or informal, errors in content, context, or delivery. Ad hominem attacks. Instead of addressing the actual argument, a narcissist will attack the person making it. For example, when you confront them about manipulative behavior, they might respond, "You're just insecure and bitter. That's why you're making such a big deal out of this." Ad hominem attacks, which use personal abuse or name-calling to discredit the opponent, are flawed because the validity of an argument is independent of the person presenting it. There are different types, such as the abusive ad hominem, a direct insult, and the circumstantial ad hominem, which suggests the argument is motivated by self-interest and the appeal to hypocrisy. Straw man argument. The narcissist distorts or exaggerates your position to make it easier to attack. For instance, if you say you would prefer to go to the beach over camping, they might respond, "Why do you hate camping so much?" This shifts the focus from your preference to you having to defend a point you never made. Red herring. This involves introducing an irrelevant topic to divert attention from the real issue at hand. If you confront them about emotionally hurtful behavior, a narcissist might suddenly bring up an unrelated past mistake you made, such as forgetting their birthday. Appeal to hypocrisy. This fallacy attempts to discredit your criticism by claiming you have done something similar in the past. When confronted about lying, they might say, "Oh, so you've never lied before." Whataboutism? A form of appeal to hypocrisy. This involves responding to an accusation by saying, "What about when you," to deflect and shift blame. Gaslighting. While not a traditional logical fallacy, gaslighting is a form of manipulation in which a person makes someone question their own memory, perception, or sanity. For example, they may deny ever saying something you distinctly remember them saying. Emotional reasoning. A narcissist relies on the cognitive distortion that their feelings are facts. This allows them to interpret events in a way that confirms their own importance rather than through objective reality. False dilemma, black and white thinking. The narcissist presents a situation as an either or choice, ignoring all other possibilities. For instance, either you agree with me or you're against me. Circular reasoning. They argue by using the conclusion as a premise, trapping you in a logical loop with no real evidence. This makes the argument appear irrefutable. Appeal to authority entitlement. The narcissist may assert their opinion as the only valid one by appealing to their own presumed superior expertise, dismissing any opposing perspectives. This is often tied to their sense of entitlement. Denial and minimization. The narcissist's prayer illustrates the common progression from denial to minimization when confronted with wrongdoing. That didn't happen. And if it did, it wasn't that bad. And if it was, that's not a big deal. And if it is, that's not my fault. Projection. A narcissist projects their own negative traits, feelings, or behaviors onto others to avoid shame and responsibility. They may accuse you of being selfish, weak, or unlovable because they harbor those insecurities themselves. Ambiguity and word salad. Using intentionally vague or confusing language, they may make a conversation incomprehensible. This derails meaningful discussion and keeps you from being able to counter their points. The narcissist will gaslight their flying monkeys as well. While a flying monkey is used to attack and gaslight the narcissist's primary target, they can also be a victim of the narcissist's manipulation. They use the following tactics, convincing them they are the victim. The narcissist will portray themselves as the wronged party, convincing their flying monkeys that they are helping a victim, not aiding an abuser. This manipulation can cause the flying monkey to genuinely believe they are advocating for what is right, while unwittingly participating in abuse. Twisting the narrative. The narcissist provides a distorted version of events, leading the flying monkeys to believe lies or half-truths that support the narcissist's agenda. This misinformation is more effective coming from a third party because the flying monkeys are often viewed as objective or neutral messengers, exploiting their loyalty or fears. Some flying monkeys are people pleasers or have been groomed over time to put the narcissist needs first. Others may be afraid of becoming the narcissist's next target and go along with the manipulation to protect themselves, pitting them against each other. Narcissists use flying monkeys for triangulation, creating chaos by turning people against each other. This tactic diverts attention from the narcissist's own behavior and solidifies their position of power, targeting their self-worth. Like their primary target, flying monkeys can have their self-worth eroded by the narcissist's emotional abuse. If a flying monkey begins to question the narcissist might flip the script, suggesting the flying monkey is selfish, uncaring, or even the real abuser. The narcissist will flip the script about the target as well, making them out to be the real abuser, and having their flying monkeys attack the target whenever the narcissist needs an ego boost. A narcissist discard is the abrupt and often cold termination of a relationship by a person with narcissistic traits driven by their self-centered needs and lack of empathy. Discarding occurs when a narcissist no longer finds the person useful or interesting, often to gain a new supply of admiration or attention. Signs include sudden emotional withdrawal, devaluation, and lack of remorse. In terms of fandoms and other social media relationships, this discard comes when those who are not actively praising the narcissist enough, or who go against the narcissist, even by just disagreeing, may be kicked out of the collective. Narcissists want to silence their targets to maintain complete control, protect their fragile ego, and avoid accountability for their actions. This is a form of emotional abuse that can be executed through various manipulation tactics, including the silent treatment, gaslighting, and isolation. Why are narcissists like this? Narcissists appear very strong and influential, but in reality, they are secretly extremely emotionally fragile. They lack a stable internal sense of self-worth and rely almost entirely on external validation to regulate their self-esteem. Narcissist early losses, emptiness, and needs are so great and painful that when not fulfilled, they mentally disintegrate. Thus, their need for their supply is never-ending. They require continuous reassurance from those around them. But, like a parasite, no matter how much you give, it's never enough to fill their emptiness and satisfy their hunger. Their need is constant and relentless. Like vampires who are dead inside, narcissists exploit and drain those around them. A person with narcissistic traits uses controlling behavior and avoidance to protect a fragile ego and maintain a distorted, grandiose self-image. This prevents them from dealing with their issues because they cannot tolerate anything that suggests they are less than perfect. They will feign imperfection to manipulate others into providing validation. This tactic is most often used by covert or vulnerable narcissists, whose core insecurity lies just beneath a thin veneer of arrogance. Unlike the overt or grandiose narcissist who demands admiration directly, the covert type seeks validation indirectly by creating situations where others feel compelled to offer reassurance. Now that you have the basics, here are some other interesting facts about narcissists that you may find helpful in identifying and dealing with them. Narcissists won't generally follow the advice being shared here, and at the same time keep being narcissistic. It requires acknowledging their true selves and healing from it. It's logically, physically, psychologically impossible for a narcissist to address this fatal mistake without healing from narcissism itself. They'll have to choose either or, one or the other. Narcissists only see themselves. They don't truly see other people. This isn't a matter of circumstance or bad luck or external factors in general. No, it's willful blindness. They're not interested in other people. They only care to look at themselves like looking at their own navel. They cherry-pick the parts of themselves they're willing to see and show to the world. Their perception of other people, though, doesn't even exist. They don't care to even look. For a narcissist, external world means everyone but me. Even if that includes a parent, a child, a lover, a god, you name it. A narcissist does not value their inner circle as much as they value themselves. A lot of them might engage in self-deception and even wrongfully assume they're not narcissistic because, oh, I value my inner circle after all, but in reality, they don't. In reality, if the worst comes to the worst, example, Let's say someone else is in danger, but saving this person will not give them any reward. Not even praise and recognition, not even a thanks. It's entirely an invisible endeavor, something no one will ever notice, but needs doing. They're very able and willing to sacrifice someone else in order to preserve themselves. It's easy to say you value other people when everything is fine, and your reliance on narcissistic supply isn't being threatened. This is why, oftentimes, children of narcissists wonder why behind closed doors there was neglect, but in front of others they were pampered. It's because others were seeing and giving the parent that sweet supply. A very telltale sign is a person leaving angry comments because they know this strikes a nerve. They'll see the shoe fit, won't say that, just see, but rage because what is said is impossible or naive or stupid or whatever. Nobody is that selfless. That kind of comment, in case it happens, will prove my point. Generalizations coming from a narcissistic, aka navel-gazing place. There's no arguing with narcissists. They operate from a position of only looking at the mirror and never at others. They don't see others. What they see is an empty shell of others filled in with their projections of themselves onto these others. Why? Because of what I said. They only look at the mirror. Never at others. They're genuinely not seeing you. If you go to a beach but decide to only look down at your feet in the sand the whole time, will you ever see the horizon? You tell me. Maybe the horizon reminds you of people drowning and the warm sand is too comfy to get out of. Okay, valid. But you can't deny that when you only look down, you can't know what's up. If you only look inwards, you can't know what's outside. You can imagine, fantasize, stereotype, but you can't know. It's plain logic. The narcissist admitting to imperfections is a strategic tactic to gain narcissistic supply, not an act of genuine self-reflection. This pseudo-humility can elicit sympathy, praise, or validation from others, which feeds their fragile ego and fulfills their need for attention. They use the following methods for admitting imperfections for supply. The false apology. The narcissist may offer an apology that is superficial or conditional, often using phrases like, "I'm sorry you feel that way," or "I'm sorry, but..." This avoids genuine accountability and shifts the blame back onto the other person for their emotional reaction. Weaponize self-deprecation. They may self-deprecate or play the victim to bait others into reassuring them. For example, they might say, "I'm so terrible at this," in the hopes that someone will rush to tell them how amazing they are. Confessing minor or false flaws. To appear humble or relatable, a narcissist might admit to an insignificant flaw while ignoring their more serious wrongdoings. This performs a show of vulnerability without risking any genuine exposure or shame. The preemptive confession. A narcissist might reveal a minor indiscretion from their past to ward off future criticism or make their more recent negative behavior seem less significant. It gives them an insurance policy against having their flaws revealed by someone else. Playing the broken card. By exaggerating or misrepresenting their struggles and issues, a narcissist can solicit sympathy. This allows them to portray themselves as a victim and use their issues as an excuse for their behavior, all to gain pity and attention. Performative guilt. The narcissist may show elaborate and theatrical displays of remorse, such as crying. But these displays are hollow and focused on their own suffering rather than the pain they caused others. The goal is to make the other person feel guilty for upsetting them, thereby redirecting emotional energy and attention back to themselves. The goal of this behavior is to gain narcissistic supply, which is the emotional fuel they need to regulate their fragile self-esteem. By performing vulnerability, they achieve several objectives. Reassurance. They elicit praise and validation to confirm their inflated sense of self. Control. They disarm the other person by seeming humble, which maintains control over the relationship and narrative. Shame, avoidance. True accountability would trigger intense feelings of shame, so they engage in performative displays to prevent that from happening. Victimhood. They reposition themselves as the wronged party, shifting the focus away from their own harmful actions and onto their supposed pain or vulnerability. Narcissists rely on stereotypes in order to navigate the external world. By external world, I don't mean what this expression usually means for normal people. If you're not narcissistic, you probably think your external world involves something like coworkers, acquaintances, and strangers. Because when you're not narcissistic, you aren't operating from that navel-gazing and obsessive self-preservation mindset. You value your inner circle, which might include family and close friends, no blood relationship required, as much as you value yourself. So your inner circle of human beings exists. It's not just to yourself. You could die for one of these super close people in your life. A narcissist wouldn't, because subconsciously they're like, where's my payment? I can't be sure something exists after death. I can't be sure I'll get the chance to see others praising me for the sacrifice after all. Please take this metaphorically. I speak of death of the ego only. A normal ego can take it. An overinflated one can't. Going back to the beach metaphor, ask that person, who is only looking at the sand, to describe the horizon to you. They'll say it's a line between sea and sky. Dictionary definition, stereotype. Ask them to be more specific. What does this horizon they're experiencing look like? Still without taking their eyes off the sand, they'll say, oh, it's blue and cloudless. Maybe they happen to be right. Even a broken clock is twice a day. But in case they aren't, it won't matter to them. You can take as many photos of the clouds in the sky as you want. They won't believe you. They will continue this behavior as long as it works. They are weakened by having their faults revealed. Again, to use the Wizard of Oz as an example, it's like when the wizard is revealed as a sham. This should give you a decent introduction into what we shall be discussing further in future episodes.
Atop a burdened donkey rode a stranger into town, tilted in the saddle, one leg dragging on the ground. He had crooked eyes, a crooked nose, could look both ways as he crossed the road. The rope that held his pants up was barely even tied. He slid off his steed and took a big swig from a flask. Then he said out loud, although nobody had asked, I'm just a dumb fuck from bumblefuck nowhere. He had bloodshot eyes, a dripping nose. Then through all the chaos we all started hearing clops. He was the dumb fuck from bumblefuck nowhere. Look, my friends, are you sure you wanna go there? Said the dumb fuck from bumblefuck nowhere. Oh, to my surprise, I saw a glint of fire in those crooked looking eyes. He was the dumb fuck from bumblefuck nowhere. The dumb fuck from bumblefuck nowhere. And it sure was a sight to see. They set 10 men up, he knocked 10 men down, and any man who took a stand was sentenced then to die. He was a dumb fuck from bumblefuck nowhere. He was the dumb fuck from bumblefuck nowhere. Oh, the dumb fuck from bumblefuck nowhere.